Liz Anderson hasn't seen her eldest child Fiona since 2005, when she was posted overseas from Sydney to work in the Sea Org in Clearwater, Florida. Now all she has left are these few mementos of Fiona's childhood.
The Tigers Netball Club.
Look, she's a beautiful girl. I mean, I just, and she's mine. But I can't take the parent away. I'll try.
How painful is it for all of you that Fiona is still in the church?
Well, I love my wife dearly, and there's been many times I've seen her just so distraught at the fact that she can't have contact with her daughter.
It's a very cruel doctrine, a very cruel policy to separate family members from each other on pain of being expelled from the church.
Well, let me put it this way. Considering just in the last couple of days and on my last trip to Clearwater, I saw Miss Peachy walking down the street. I believe, come to think of it, the street that she was walking down, I saw 2 or 3 payphones that she most capably could have stopped, picked up the phone, and called whomever she wished to speak with. So if she wanted to speak to her mother, I am sure she's perfectly capable of doing so.
Fiona Peachy, who is now 25 years old, has told Four Corners that while she loves her mother, she can't have any contact with her while her mother insults her religion.
You want a cup of tea?
The Anderson family's involvement with Scientology goes back 27 years.
How's your day?
Liz and James were both married before, and they spent their early adult lives in the Sea Org. When they became a couple, they fled the Sea Org and were expelled from the church.
That is, as a Scientologist, quite degrading. You know, your children are told you're a suppressive person.
It's busy in this kitchen today. A lot of action happening here.
For years after being expelled, the Andersons worked to get back into favour with the church. Eventually, they were allowed back in as public Scientologists, and when Fiona was 14 years old, the Sea Org came asking for her.
You're indoctrinated as a parent that the best thing for your child, to save them, is to pull them out of the school system because they're corrupt and put them either in the Sea Org, which would be ideal, or working in an org, a lower organisation.
Scared of the consequences if she refused, her mother took Fiona to Sydney.
She's got the biggest brown eyes, Fiona, and they just melt your heart. And she looked at me, and she had signed the billion-year contract. She said, "But can I just come home, Mum?" And I said to her, "Don't ever ring me and say you want to come home, because I can't do that for you, because you'll be declared a suppressive person if I take you." I violate so many rules as a parent. I signed over guardianship of our girl.
Fiona was recruited into the Sea Org at the youngest legal age for a child to leave school and start work.
And I stepped away. That's what you do. When you're indoctrinated and you've been declared a suppressive person and you're continually making up amends. So part of my amends is that I raised a beautiful daughter and I gave her to the church. Right or wrong, I take responsibility for my actions.
In 2005, Liz and James allowed their youngest child, Jordan, to follow in Fiona's footsteps.
I wanted to join the Sea Org ever since I was 2 years old. I remember walking around saying I'm going to be a counsellor in the Sea Org. I love the uniform, and I wanted to have that honour as a Sea Org member. So I signed a contract for 1 billion years.
Why do you recruit children into the Sea Org?
Actually, we don't.
Well, there are parents out there who would say you do. The Andersons, for example, would certainly say that you've done that.
Okay. Well, in their individual case, fine. The fact of the matter is that the church doesn't discriminate against people by virtue of age.
When she arrived at the Sea Org, age 14, Jordan was asked to give a detailed account of her private life, something she herself would later demand of other recruits.
You've had no sexual relations. You haven't masturbated. You never watched a porn movie. You know, like, they really pull it to shreds and pieces, and they even say you haven't had sex with an animal.
Jordan Anderson was posted to the HCO, the Hubbard Communications Office in Sydney, where she worked as a personnel control officer. She says she had an average of 3 days off a year. The job carried great responsibilities, the pay was minimal, and the hours excessive.
I stayed up 72 hours once, just trying to get someone approved to go auditor training overseas.
72 hours without sleep?
Mm.
And you were 15 at the time?
Well, if that is actually the case, that would be utterly and completely unacceptable.
The Sea Org provided Jordan with free board and lodging here in Sydney. But her work involved long hours, and once, she says, when she failed to recruit a member of the public, she was severely punished. She was told to scrub out a dumpster.
We didn't have any gloves, we had no masks. I was in my uniform pants and an old t-shirt. But there was no OH&S. I mean, they were violating every single point that I know of OH&S. And I was there until 2 o'clock in the morning. It was just putrid. I couldn't believe it. I would never do that to somebody.
When Liz Anderson heard what had happened to her daughter, she was incensed.
I was angry. Don't get me wrong. If I could have gone up there and king hit the very individual that signed my daughter to scrubbing out a dumpster, I would have been there. Was I angry? You betcha. Was that gonna drive me to make a point? You betcha. Is that why I'm here today? Yes, it is.
It sounds ridiculous and extreme. I question its credibility. I question its veracity. I don't know who Jordan Anderson is, and I don't know when that occurred. I don't know who it was who was involved in it or why it is she would have done that.